Hi pals, I'm Kate and today I'm doing an autumn book haul. It was my birthday in September and I have accumulated a few books since then. I have a mixture of classics, poetry, a literary biography and some classic crime. So let's go ahead and get started. First up is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. This was a present from my dad for my birthday. We were in Grasmere having lunch and we went into one of my favourite bookshops, Sam Reed's. I've been in a real Charles Dickens phase and my plan is to start working through his novels in publication order. This is maybe his 13th or 14th novel, so one of his later works. But I'm slowly accumulating the novels of his that I don't own, and this was one of them. I'm really happy that I have this now. I probably won't get to it for a fair old while. It can take pride of place on my bookcase. Right, next up is a little novella, and it is Once Upon a Time in the North by Philip Pullman. The last Book of Dust novel by Philip Pullman, I think it's called The Rose Field, will be coming out at the end of October. I'm really excited to read that, and I am slowly working my way through the His Dark Materials novels, so Book of Dust 1 and 2 and His Dark Materials, the 3 novels. What I want to do is read them in story order as opposed to publication order, and technically this is the first installment in the series. It's an illustrated novella, and if you're familiar with Northern Lights, the original novels, this one follows Lee Scoresby. It's a great little adventure story of his travels through like the frozen north. Since I picked this up, I've reread this one. I have read it before, but I didn't own a copy. Very happy to have this on my bookcase. I rarely enjoy his little novellas that are part of the His Dark Materials world. I'm really fond of Lyra's Oxford as well. Next up is a work of non-fiction, The Captive Mind, written by Czeslaw Miłosz. That's really bad pronunciation, but you kind of get the idea. I recently read Christopher Hitchens' Why Orwell Matters, which is essentially a collection of essays on kind of Orwell and different themes like empire, like feminism, Englishness, etc. He popped up in those essays, and one of the things that he mentions is that during the Second World War and the Cold War, Ukrainian and Polish soldiers, they would circulate copies of Animal Farm in 1984 because they recognised something very true within those novels. And it also talks of Orwell's influence on a group of those writers within Central and Eastern Europe. He was one of those, and he just sounded so fascinating. This is one of the classic critiques of totalitarianism and is really an exploration in how kind of ideology flourished in post-war Poland. I'm making a concerted effort to read more Polish writers, both fiction and non-fiction, and also read up on my Polish history. So I'm really excited to get to this one. I think I'll probably head to this next year because I have my reading for the year kind of roughly planned out. Next up is a poetry collection, a little mini one. I've mentioned on the channel recently how I've been reading a poem a day from the Penguin Book of Romantic Verse. The William Blake sections of that I absolutely loved, so I picked up Songs of Innocence and Experience by William Blake. There's also another reason why I went for this particular edition. This is introduced by Richard Holmes, and he is a military historian and a biographer of the Romantic period. I really want to read the first volume of his Samuel Taylor Coleridge biography, Early Visions, and I thought as I wanted to read this poetry collection, he introduces this. This is the great place to kind of start with both of these. This is a facsimile edition published by Tate, the art gallery, and it has the original kind of lettering and the original illustrations, which I just think is so beautiful. So I'm hoping to get to this relatively soon, and potentially William Blake and I will have a kind of very happy future together. Right, sticking on the poetry theme, I picked up a copy of a book that I've wanted for literally years, but I've never pulled the trigger on until now. And it is Radical Wordsworth by Jonathan Bate. Jonathan Bate has written a few biographies that I would like to get to. He's done a biography on Ted Hughes and there's one on Shakespeare. However, I am quite cautious about biographers who use the kind of radical spin to cover otherwise well-trodden ground. However, I do feel like maybe there's more of a basis for that with Wordsworth. I believe this mainly focuses on his early life as he ends up kind of relatively conservative. I think that there may be an argument for him as an early environmentalist. I don't know his thoughts on the French Revolution. I guess I'll find out. I'm hoping this will give me some new perspectives and shed some new light on his earlier life. So hopefully this will be a good one. In my last video, I spoke about some classic crime that I've been reading recently that's perfect for autumn and winter. As soon as autumn starts, I do have the overwhelming urge to read Golden Age crime and classic crime, and so I have also picked out some new stuff. So I'll do as a whistle-stop tour. The first one is Fear Stalks the Village by Ethel Lena White. This is part of the British Library crime classics that I always bang on about because I think that they're fab. This is set in the South Downs and it's an interwar mystery, so very much falls within that golden age of crime. This is about poison pen letters in a small English village. Think The Moving Finger by Agatha Christie, or if you've seen the film Wicked Little Letters. On Sundays, I usually head to my local Waterstones and get myself a coffee and a cake and have a little look through their books. Their crime sections I think is stronger than their fiction and classics. And I had £10 on my stamp card and I saw this and I thought, why not? I love village settings for murder mysteries. So English, so enjoyable. So I think I'll be reading this one soon. Next in the British Library crime classics is Murders of Swine by Nap Lombard. I love the Second World War as a backdrop for murder mysteries. The British Library crime classics, if you go on their website, have a whole category for their crime novels set during the Second World War. This one was written in 1943, so at the tail end of the kind of golden age period. This is meant to be quite light-hearted, which I think will be a lot of fun. I think one of the amateur detectives is an air raid warden. They find a body in a bomb shelter. It's also meant to have tons of period detail. It's set in winter, so perfect for right now. I'm planning on reading this over the next month or so. Next up we have London Particular by Christiana Brand. And this one was written in the 50s. I really want to make a start on her novels because she's written so much, but I've never headed to her before. I do love novels set in London. A London Particular is a very specific type of very dense fog, I think. This is part of the Inspector Cockrell series, and if I get on with this, I will begin at the beginning. I do love a London murder mystery, so hopefully this one will be enjoyable. I'm thinking of doing a video which is just on very English murder mysteries, and potentially this and Murders of Swine and even Fear Stalks the Village, they could all be in there. Right, the last book that I have is The Daughter of Time by Josephine Tey. I spoke about this in my murder mysteries for Cozy Season for autumn and winter video, so I won't go into too much detail here other than to say this is the ultimate slow burn historical murder mystery. I rate this really highly. It takes a little while to get going, but I do think that it's worth it. So that one is done. They're all the books that I've got since my birthday in September. If you've read any of these, if you have any thoughts, any recommendations, or any you just want to leave a comment, I always love to hear from you all. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!